It's not done yet. And there's just stuff all in there all over the place. I have most of the things set up. There's like shelves stuffed with things. I don't have any of the wall hangings up yet. And I want to do kind of some like fabric or something on the ceiling. And I have this idea to put like fake clouds, like 3D ones, like cotton ones, and then like make them flash lightning, because I saw some of that, some pictures on the internet. They exist. And yeah, and I don't have any pressure to have it done. It's done. It'll never be done because I'll always be adding, moving things around. But I still have to get like what I have up in there. But it's wonderful, and I can't wait till things are more back to normal from a COVID standpoint to be able to have people over. And it's done, I may be in there like all the time. I probably move my podcast production in there. I like have all these fantasies I'm going to spend this winter. Like I have so many spooky books and different Halloween books to read. I'm going to go lay in the couch in there and just be surrounded by all these wonderful sculptures and paintings and mixed media things and just enjoy them. And I love just going in there and looking and being like, wow.
Yeah, really nothing like going around seeing an art collection, especially in your own house.
Yeah. It's like, and then my boys, I tell them like, you don't know how cool this is to have a Halloween art room. I'm like, hardly. Now I know some people that do because the collector community, but it's really not that common to have a Halloween art room. So I tell my boys, it's like, you're growing up with something very special.
Mm-hmm. Do you tend to collect one medium more? Like, would it be miniatures or pottery or paintings, or is it just?
I'm all over the place. Sometime like last year, I decided, in order to control myself, I'm like, I'm not limiting myself, but I'll have themes. So last year, I really worked on, I like Victorian mourning, and there is a lot of Halloween work that is inspired by Victorian mourning. So that was a priority. And creepy ocean stuff was a priority. And creepy plants, because houseplants are so popular right now. You know, when you go in this, everybody loves houseplants now, and that's like a joke that millennials love houseplants, and it's worked its way into Halloween. And even like, for example, if you go look at Target last year and this year, they have a lot of their faux plants are like they're like little Audreys and stuff, and like poppies with eyeballs. It's really popular. But there's also obviously like original one-of-a-kind art pieces. There's a artist named Sam Keck, and she does these dead daisies, and she sculpts little skulls and puts like little daisies with them. And then she goes to antique stores and finds like little wagons or different kind of vases and stuff and puts them in there. So, or really cool antiques and puts those in there. So I have some dead daisies. So anyways, so I found that is my like way. I kind of like, I'm going to focus on different things. And this year I was like, I kind of still really like all that stuff. That's going to be my focus. And I have expanded it though, become through talking to some of the artists more interested in cryptids. So I've actually cryptids. So cryptids are a big influence to Halloween artists. So cryptozoology is a pseudoscience, and it's the study of mysterious beings. And you're going to totally know what this is when I tell you this. So Nessie, Sasquatch, Yetis, Mothman, Flatwoods Monster.
Chupacabra.
Yes. They're all over. Like every culture has them. Every country has them. They're all over. And like this year I got from an artist, she's actually in North Carolina. Her business name is Tatter Moon. It's a moth man, but it's feminine, and she's got like pink fur. She's awesome. So that's been one thing I've been interested, because one of the artists that I had, I've talked to several Halloween artists that they, for inspiration, look into cryptozoology to get ideas of different kind of characters to make. So,
will this just be local things? I mean, are we talking? What about mythological things like cyclopses, dragons? Is that included in that, or is that it's just mythology?
Well, cryptozoology, I think some people think it's real. I guess that's what's a little different. Maybe, I don't know. Do some people think dragons real? There's a distinction. I think like dragons live more in like the fantasy community with like fairies. Yeah, cryptozoology, there's always this like kind of conspiracy element to it. Right. Which I guess with dragons too. It's like, is Yeti real or not? Right. And
makes sense.
Yeah. And that's a whole like another community too, because they have conferences and art and all kinds of stuff and stories, and you spend your lifetime studying that too.
Definitely. Now, do you ever buy stuff from a retail outlet at all?
I do.
You do?
I do. I don't frown upon it. I don't buy that much because as I have gotten more into my collecting, I have realized I have different responses to things, and I just don't have the emotional attachment to something mass produced as I do to something that's one of a kind created by an artist. But there still is cute things that are mass produced, and you can build an awesome collection having both together. Because, let's face it, some of the original pieces, rightly so, are not cheap. So it's good to combine them. So I really like some of the things that Target has. Like I said, especially the faux plants that they have that are spooky themed. So like I get those, and I will intermingle them with some of my original spooky plants. Sometimes I keep them separate so they kind of know like you're the real deal and you're not. But I don't get like, I know there's like some really famous Instagrammers and stuff that do like the Halloween hauls, and they'll get a cart, they'll make videos and they'll get a cart and they'll go into like Home Goods or TJ Maxx or even CVS Pharmacy and just like fill their cart. And I mean, that's great, but I don't know. I don't have the emotional attachment to the mass-produced stuff, but I like it too.
Yeah. Plus you're supporting artists that are really working to make these pieces very special. That's important. They need that support. Yeah. And it's the whole community, so yeah.
Yeah, really and important. The collectors, like, need their fix, so...
They need their fix. That's right. Keep churning out that art. There's one thing that you had in there that was very interesting to me, that you were transformed into a vampire on local TV for Busch Gardens.
Yeah.
Which Busch Gardens was it?
The one in Virginia.
The one in Virginia. Okay.
So one of the things I love to share with people, or I'll tell people, I'm like, you got to get a hobby. Like, I don't care what it is, get a hobby. And it sounds silly, but loving Halloween has brought me all kinds of like random opportunities that I wouldn't have had I not loved Halloween. And I don't know, this was in like the last couple of years, but there used to be a local daytime show here called My Carolina Today. And I think it came on in the afternoon. It's kind of like one of those, every major area has one of these things. It's kind of like a local showcase. And one of my friends, they had posted on Facebook, or one of my friends texted me, she's like, hey, they have a contest and the winner gets to come on air and get made over by the Busch Gardens makeup artist. And so I'm like on Facebook and I look and it's like, just like you have to write an essay on why you love Halloween. I'm like, there's some things like professionally that are hard to write, but I'm just like, I just sat down my keyboard. I was like, this is why you need to pick me. And oh my gosh, when that email came back from them and said like, you're in, like, come to the studio, the NBC studio in Raleigh at this time. I was like, oh my God. So, like, I did get to go, get parked outside and, like, sat in the waiting room. And they didn't treat me like a star. I was just like, I didn't know where I was supposed to be. And I was like, waiting. And then finally someone came and got me. And, like, we're walking through the halls and it's like, there's cubicles, but then there's all, like, these NBC. Yeah, just like, I don't know, like I've seen on like Saturday Night Live and stuff, like other TV show posters are up and the like local news posters. And then they took me to the set. I just like waited, just like sitting there. And finally, like the host came on, and yeah, so I didn't have a speaking part, just sat there, me and one other person that had won the contest, and they made me into a vampire. So that's how I got in local TV, because I love Halloween. And it was a whole like promotion about coming to Busch Gardens, and I forget what they call their Halloween.
Hallow Scream.
Hallow Screams, yeah. So that was really awesome. A lot of fun.
Cool. Yes, now we're going to talk about a subject I'm very familiar with. Podcasting. You have your own podcast. What is the name of it?
It is Halloween Art and Travel. Very simple. It tells you exactly what it is. I didn't do anything tricky or fluffy in there.
What made you decide, you know what, I want to do a podcast?
I don't know when, but I became at some point obsessed with podcasts. And I was not early to the game, but the gateway drug there was the podcast Criminal, which is very popular nationally, which is actually done out of Durham, North Carolina, which is about 20 minutes for us. So I was a listener, and I like lots of things. So I'd listen to lots of different podcasts. And then, of course, I love Halloween, so I had to start searching out Halloween podcasts. So then I started listening to Halloween podcasts, and there's a lot of awesome Halloween podcasts. And there are Halloween podcasts that have had artists on them and do talk about Halloween art. But there wasn't one that exclusively did Halloween art. And it was after a Yuletide gathering. I happened to say, I was talking to one of the artists, Lori Hardin, after the show, and I was just like, oh, it was a great show, Lori. And we got talking. I'm like, yeah, I said, I kind of have this daydream of creating a Halloween art podcast that just focuses on Halloween art. And she was just like so sweet and so kind. She's like, Kristen, you got to tell our stories, go out and do this. And I was just like, oh, okay. And so I thought about it. It's that little voice. It was the same thing about leaving Cisco. It was like the little voice kept saying, you need to do this. And I'd be like, be quiet, go away. So that happened for a while.
Whatever you resist, persist.
Yes, and it just kept coming up. And I was like, I was not naive to how much work a podcast was, even though I had no experience in it. I know some people are like, do what you love, follow your heart. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I work in IT. Like, I know, like, you have to set up all these things. And I'm like, I'm going to need, like, to get music. And I don't know how to edit. And you have to learn all these things. So I was very practical about it. But there was the producer of this Bewitching Petals of Halloween, Jenny, also said to me, like, you should do this. So I started doing it. I actually I had a coworker at work that was a graphic designer. So I'm like, hey, do you do work outside of work? And she did. So I had her do the logo and started working on it. And actually within Cisco, there's a woman that did it's called Diva Tech Talk. And she interviews STEM leaders that are female. Wow. So I met with her and I was like, Nicole, like, what's it like? Like, tell me all the things. And she helped kind of like lay out. And I started listening to Dave Jackson School of Podcasting. And I just started taking it. And so I did it. And the first person I had on the show, she was very sweet to offer, was Jenny Hepler-Takens, who produces the Bewitching Peddlers of Art show. Cool. And I was like, what the heck am I doing? Like, having her is like guinea pig. But she was very gracious, and I really enjoy it. It is a lot of work, but it has been so worth it. I wish I had more time to work on it, but it's been great. There's been things that they turned out exactly how I thought they would, and there's been surprises too.
Very true. When did you first post? What was your first podcast posted? What was the debut episode?
I think it must have been. So I'm finishing up season 2, but season 1 was kind of like weird. It must have been August 2016.
Oh, that long ago.
Maybe 2018. I don't know. I don't know math. Yeah, 2018. I wish I would have started 2016. I'd be even further ahead, but no, it was August 2000.
And was it originally a decision to make it seasons?
I originally went into it. I'm like, I love Halloween all year. I'm going to do this all year. And then I talked to some Halloween artists, and they told me that even the most hardcore fires slow down in the